can't hit with the team. And the thing I do best as a coach, I feel, is work with my players. So I got a cast, I stuck a racket in it, which probably wasn't good for my hand, and I just fed balls for the next 2 months. And I came up with this drill, and I really liked it, and I still use it. So Grace, you know what we're gonna do? So we're gonna work on angle. Again. Good. We're gonna work on depth, heaviness. Great, again. Great, drive. Awesome, line. Slice. Slice. Slice line. Good, and drop shot. You missed it. She has still not hit a ball in the net, which is unbelievable. But one thing that I've really spent a lot of time on is working on drop shots lately. I was not a big fan of the drop shot for the first 30 years of my coaching, but I've really worked on that with the kids. You know, having someone like Grace have an all-court game is so, so, so important. I can teach a 12-year-old how to volley very quickly, but you cannot teach a 17-year-old how to volley very quickly. But when I got into college coaching, my first semester of their freshman year, I spent a lot of time working on their volleys because I knew at some point in their career, they were gonna have to play an all-court game to win. And you know, I'm not a huge fan of junior doubles, but knowing how to volley in doubles is super important. So Grace, we're gonna talk about some of the things that I think are important on the volley. So ready position is everything. Take 2 steps back. So I want her good ready position. I want a good pivot. Let's do backhand so they can see. So I want her set, and I want this shoulder and this racket head same spot. And she's turned her foot. The bottom, you know, controls the hips. The top, I just want it right at that shoulder. And I want it at that shoulder for every single volley she hits. Because if you take it back halfway, then you're gonna have a big swing. So we stand here and so let's do ready, pivot, good, and we just have some rallies here. I mean, I don't have to rally, but I like this. I love volleying against the backboard, so I just try and be a backboard here. Good shot, good. And we're just trying to get that down where she's taking it there every time. Good, forehand. Good. Forehand cross to me. Good. So after a while, I want her to do one on each. So just having her be ready. Right. So the next thing we talk about is our footwork. So we're just going to do a 2-step volley. I was super fortunate to have Larry Easley as my coach. And Larry would bring down this 11-year-old boy on Fridays, and I couldn't volley, so I would stay after. The boy's name was Pete. I think we can all guess his last name. And Larry was his volley coach. So I want the kids to shadow it, so shadow the forehand. Good, so Larry's big thing really was this volley. So, I want the kids to learn this. Go backhand, shadow. So you can see with Grace, we're just refining all of her strokes. And then we do a touch volley drill. So I can go through this with my better students in like 5 minutes. Maybe at first it's going to take a lot longer to get there. But I just want them, a lot of times if I just do this, they actually don't know what they're doing. So they need to do the wide volley to figure that part out. But there's just no No pattern there. So even with 10-year-olds, I teach them a half volley. So let's go back. And I think it's important for kids to understand how they're coming into net. And, you know, teaching a half volley, it's very hard to put in words. So mostly I just show them a half volley. And they can figure it out from there. But we can have some pretty ugly looking half volleys, and you can still see a little bit on her backhand. You know, her grip is a little weak, so she will slice it a little bit too much. And I'm okay with kids using two hands there. And we can go into a volley. We'll just do volleys, and I'll mix in half volleys, where I'm just volleying with her, and we're just mixing in half volleys. They have to stay. They can't, you want your kids coming forward, but that ability to do, hit a volley, use your feet and recover is super important. So to me, having all of that down is absolutely crucial. I've had many kids come to me at the college level, not know how to volley, not know how to transition. I had a kid who was ranked 2 in the country asked me on the first day, can you show me what an approach shot is? I don't know what an approach shot is. Semifinals at Count Missouri, I was like, wow. You know, but it's almost too late at that point to teach them. So we'll do the approach shot drill. Just approach shots. This is get rid of it. Recover to the baseline. This is actually an old Brad Gilbert drill. And, you know, it's just moving up. I always tell kids, you know, you're not trying to hit a winner here. You're trying to hit a winner with the volley, slice. And if they miss, again, it's just again. We spent a lot of time this week working on Grace's slice. Good. So on this, I'm giving her different spins, making her see different balls. I can also add a volley to this, approach volley. Right, just so she has that feeling. You know, for her, I was super proud of her. She won the Easter Bowl and match tiebreaker, and on the last point, she came to net and put away a volley to win it. Any questions there? Yeah, you know, and maybe that's changing. I mean, look, you know, I used to really insult my guys if they didn't serve in volley, and then the last couple of years, they were not serving volley. I was quite okay with it. I just, you know, I feel like there's too much baseline tennis. You know, junior doubles is encapsulated in how Taylor Fritz plays doubles, and obviously there's kind of nothing wrong with Taylor, but and now Stevie actually plays doubles like this. They serve and they take the first forehand and they smash it at the net man. And so maybe I'm a purist or a traditionalist. You know, I want guys coming into net. I still think the volley can win. Obviously, I'm not returning Stevie or Taylor's forehand, but I just want that forward movement. You know, I'm not a chip and charge guy, and even now, sometimes I'll serve and stay back on a second serve, but I'll come in. I'm looking to come forward. Anything else? Yes. You make the expectation lower, and that's why I did the deep drill. Like, you know, I would say, look, we all love working with Grace. I love working with Grace. It's a blessing that I get to work with her. But, you know, I taught 6 lessons yesterday. They weren't at Grace's level. One one student yesterday, which is one of my more favorite students, a girl who really, really struggles. You know, I have a boy that I do this that didn't make his high school team. You know, so I'm just paring it down. But even, you know, I started working with a 13-year-old boy where I had to change his forehand, his backhand. We spent 45 minutes with softball tosses. You know, I'm progressing. I'll do softball, then feed, then a hit, and then I see, okay, he's not ready to hit. I'll go back to softball, right? And then I'll feed. I'm trying to make it better, but you're always, yeah, I do think these drills can work for anyone. And you know, like we did the depth drill earlier. I mean, you could do this, you know, the kids that aren't as good sometimes, they just want to get the ball in. And the more they think about getting the ball in, the less likely they're going to get the ball in. It's like the more you worry about winning, the less likely you are going to win, right? You don't make winning the top priority. You make the process of doing what you want to do to have a chance to win the top priority. So I would do this where I stand even and I bring up the cones. And then I'd say, we're going to hit 10 deep, cross court. And they, you know, that I'm a pretty big cone, and so they're hitting cross court, right? 2. But, you know, I might have to feed 40 balls to get this, right? Or, you know, Grace is doing pretty good, but right there. So I'm paring it down. Because a feed is a lot easier to hit than a ball. I try and play a lot with my kids, which physically can be daunting some days. But you know, you're smart. You have to be smart in your lesson. But I definitely have, like, this is my lesson, right? I'm gonna do this lesson with almost every kid. There's a bunch of variations I can do with all of this, but we're gonna probably spend a half an hour on ground strokes, 15 minutes on the volley, 15 minutes on the serve, right? And so that's important to me. Could that change? I could spend 15 minutes on the ground strokes if they're better. I could spend 15 minutes on the volley or 5. Then I can add the return of serve. I can add the overhead. You know, kids today really struggle with the overhead. I probably don't teach overhead enough. We don't have a wall at our club, which I think is the best thing to learn an overhead on. So I'm trying to get one built, right? Shipping issues. Desi.
Teacher, how you return. I gotta see it.
Oh, well, yeah. Okay, we'll do it over there. That's last. So I was when I was a kid. I grew up in Connecticut until I was 13, and all winter I played hockey in my garage. And all summer I played tennis in my garage. My mom said I broke every window in the garage multiple times. She was a great mother. She never yelled at me too hard. But from that, I learned a very simple stroke. I actually changed all of my strokes when I first started coaching at Long Beach State when I was like 24. So we're gonna do returns. And so, you know, to me, the return is the simpler, the better, but we have to have a step forward. So it's always, to me, a step forward, a split, not a jump, but just kind of fall into your split, a step out with my racket here, and then hit, and then finish. We'll go through some variations of drills that, again, we can do with all levels, but that's probably what I do the best when I play tennis. I feel the most confident, returning serve incredibly, and I love it. It's a relationship you have with the server. And whatever they give me, I'm going to give it back to them. And I love that feeling of taking their pace and using it against them. But I think I said in my notes there that, to me, the footwork on the volley, the first volley, and the return are identical. First volley, right, return, same thing. So I do a lot where, again, I want to kind of be close to the kids. And we actually didn't really plan any of this out. Grace was like, what are we doing? I'm like, just trust yourself, Grace. I like to serve from here because, again, I'm very close to the person, and I want that ball to kind of shoot through. Okay, we're going to go backhands. This can be a little awkward, making them hit a forehand here. Forehand's easier on the other side. She's a lefty, so everything's reversed. But here we go, step, split. And the kids kind of, it's hard for them because I'm going to kind of serve when they split, step. No, yeah, back, step, split, good. Great, so I'm really wanting them to get that whole procession, progress down there. So you can see she's stepping forward, she's stepping out, whereas a lot of kids might want to step across. You have time to do all that. And she can, just like with the volley, she can take that right foot and step forward. She can do anything with it. But again, right, she does this very, very well. But I will teach this to a kid that really, really struggles. And I teach those kids. And in some way, I love that challenge, right? Grace presents a completely different challenge than other students. And if you think she's easy, in some ways she is, but in other ways, let's go to the other side. In other ways, she's very tough because you have to keep challenging her. So I can also serve from here, step. Right? I'm not hitting it in the box. I don't really care that I'm hitting in the box. I want that ball there and shooting through. Good? Backhand. Right? Okay, so then I would go back here and now serve from here. But getting this down for the kids to have down is absolutely crucial. Oh, good one. Yep. Still take a little bit of a loop there, Grace. Right? So with them, I'm telling them, first return, I want them to hit my feet. Or I want them to go cross court. Once they go cross court, then they can go down the line. So Grace, either side, but I want you early. Okay, so backhand's here or me, forehand's here or there. Either side. And I am standing in front because I'm going to get a lot more balls in. Again, no balls in the net. You can see she has hit very few balls in the net today. And use that depth. And also very important, second serve that she's stepping up. And now those rules change a little bit. I want her to pick a corner, and I want her to hit it. Go cross first. Anything else there? But teaching kids that whole progression, the whole progression. Step, split, out. Right? That is key. That preparation is so key. And a lot of kids want to, just go here. You can do this just as easily as you can do this. This does not take any longer. I've got news for you. But it's repetition, repetition. Am I going to be able to do all of this in one lesson? Probably not. I coach a lot of kids 1.5 hour a week. Grace, sometimes with Grace, I'll work with her 4 times a week. Last week we hit 4 times. So I start my mornings out with Grace or Eva at 7:30. So Eva's in Europe playing, so Grace gets the 7:30 slot now. But you can obviously do a lot, but there's a lot of kids I only work with 1.5 hour a week. But I'm not trying to stuff everything into that half hour. I'm trying to make it good, and I'm looking a year out. I can do all of this in a year. I don't have to do it in a week or a month. right? But you just got to get it down, and you have to have all of those things down. And sometimes we get stuck on a stroke that just is not going to be good. And don't make that mistake, right? I have basically the same weakness I had when I was 25, right? Hopefully it's a little bit better, but that weakness is still there, right? We all have our strengths, we all have our weaknesses. And so a lot of times, like I worked with Logan Smith, and he struggled with his forehand, and after about a year, I told my assistant, Chris is a little bit more stubborn than me. Chris stayed after it. So I'm like, Chris, we got to develop his volley. We got to develop all these other things, because his forehand's going to be his forehand. Guess what? That's life. But he's got to win in other ways. We can't be so stubborn to do that. You have to make a complete player. 9:40, I'm flying through this. Any other questions? Yeah, I mean, great question. What I don't want is people to stand up. You know how good servers make you stand up? Like they hit that pace. So Grace, we're gonna return. I need somebody to stay down in this situation. If I'm here, watching one of the best returners of all time, Connors, he would always be here. He wouldn't take a step forward. He'd take a step to the side. So he was always moving, trying to take away that body serve. But for me, you got to stay down, right, and move. The big mistake everybody makes is they stand up. Pancho used to always tell me, Pita, you got to be down, Pita. And he would always say, look, it's a lot easier to be down and go up than it is to be up and go down, right? As soon as I go up, I'm done, right? This is an athletic position, this is not. So when they're serving you body, you gotta find a way, you gotta read the serve and know what's happening. Stay down through the ball, stay down through the ball. And that's not something I've worked on with Grace, but I bet she does it just fine. Here we go, guys. You saw it. Oh. Good. Oh, gotcha. Anything else? Yes. I'm sorry, I can't hear you. We're back to this. Yes. Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not picking on juniors. I coach a lot of juniors. I do a clinic it's 2 hours and 15 minutes. I think it's super important that in that clinic to teach the kids to do dynamic and how to warm up properly. Our warm up sometimes takes a half an hour. Stevie just came and spoke to some of the juniors, and he explained for a 12 o'clock match, he would arrive at 9 a.m. to the site. He just wanted to make sure everything was set. So I'm getting to the point. Andy Johnson, who is incredibly gifted hands, he just won Easter Bowl doubles. And he said, no one knows how to poach in the 12s. I know how to poach. So it was a big advantage. So I'm spending a lot of time teaching them how to move at net, how to control the middle, where the ball should go. Again, I played a tournament with one of my other kids, Kyle Lundberg, and Kyle, anytime he got nervous, he went down the line. I'm like, Kyle, we're playing men. That's not gonna work. You've got a much shorter court and a higher net, but that's their default because they play against a lot of kids that don't know how to volley. So let's use the middle, right? I mean, you all know that expression, down the middle, right? Solves the riddle. So let's protect the middle, let's do that. But it's a lot of little things in doubles. I mean, I play doubles very, very basic. I won a lot of gold balls just getting my first serve in, getting my return cross court, and taking every ball and go low middle. I mean, if that's 85% of doubles, 90% of doubles, And I just don't see enough of that. Like, but kids are kids and they gotta learn. Yes. Training on different services. I mean, we have access to a clay court, but we really don't use it too much. It's like 15 minutes from the club, but yeah, I mean, I'd love to build a clay court at the club. There's a lot of wishes. I wish I could take my dog to work every day too, but that's not happening either. Those of you who should know my relationship with I have 2 dogs now. The biggest bummer is no dogs allowed at Kramer Club. I need to change that rule. Yeah, I mean, the game has grown so much because we have better teachers, right? I mean, the kids I got from juniors the last 10 years at USC, I know I'm getting a higher kid, but they were just better players and had better strokes, right? They're not hitting the janky slice, right? So, people just know how to play tennis better. But I said, I'm using the drop shot a lot more. I teach the slice a lot. I always taught the slice. Yeah, I mean, if you're not growing, right, you're dying. And so all of you here are growing. And I didn't. It was so nice to leave work on Thursday, and I went to a clinic at Carson, and it was just great to be around tennis and talk tennis and hear tennis, and it was just super cool. And when you do that, your mind kind of opens. And I would say, when I was a college coach, my season was 9 months. I mean, I'd have December and June basically off. I mean, now I'm coaching, I mean, it's nuts. I mean, TGIF, I never knew that time. And, so it's incredible. But mostly at night, I'm tired. I'm a lot like you guys. I'm really tired at night. And, but, you get up and having that ability to have an open mind, I always thought was my wife is like, you're the most open-minded person I've ever met. And I said, you're the most closed-minded person I've ever met. And somehow she won that argument. So, I think having an open mind and being open to different ideas is really important. I always said if I tried 10